It's not every day that we get to sit down with a true American legend, but I think given the impact that you've had, you deserve such recognition.
Appreciate it, just feel blessed to be here, over 30 years in music, movies, and now in sports. So a lot of people don't last that long in entertainment, and so I feel, blessed to be in this position.
A lot of people, especially those who are much younger, will recognize you for your facial expressions, which often looks a little bit like this. And I think it's all in the eyes and lips, right?
What's funny is I don't do nothing any different than anybody else. I'm pretty sure when you get mad, you got a scowl or a frown. And, for some reason, the way my face is structured, it's pretty iconic, so to speak.
Can we see it?
Maybe, it depends on how this interview goes.
So you were what, 14, 15 when you wrote your first ever rap?
14 years old, yeah. I was in class and pretty bored. I had finished my work, it wasn't like I was not doing my work. I finished my work early and I was just sitting there, and one of my friends said, "Hey, have you ever wrote a rap before?" We were all fans of rap, hip hop, and I guess this is 1983. And I tried it and never stopped since then.
Can you remember what you wrote?
My name is Ice Cube. I want you to know I'm not Run DMC or Curtis Blow. That was my first ever line. I
think part of the reason why you are still talked about today is the fact that you've created this new basketball league, the Big 3.
Yeah.
And it's also the first black-owned league in the world. Where did the idea come from?
3-on-3 is like the little brother to 5-on-5, full court. So just started to think about the idea and how could we elevate it to the professional level.
You're taking the league international for the first time, with the finals taking place in London at the O2 later this month. Will you be shooting a few hoops or performing maybe?
Nah, these guys are too good for me. I'm gonna set the stage, let these guys do their thing. You never know, I might jump out there and, get on the mic a little bit and entertain the crowd. But for the most part, these guys are professional. And what's cool is we're gonna have our championship game, which is the best of the best, and our all-star game. So we're bringing, the best players in the league, to London, to the O2, and, we hope to have the support of, the UK crowd out there.
It's 35 years since you released Straight Out of Compton with N.W.A, an album which undoubtedly transformed hip hop. I'm not sure you'll agree with this, but I think from my perspective, you guys were to rap what, for example, the Beatles were to rock.
Yeah, I would put Run DMC up there too. Run DMC was one of those iconic groups that propelled rap to what it is today. I think N.W.A was just a major impact. It was like a atom bomb going off. So I just think we, probably are one of the most influential groups in hip hop history. Beatles, I would get that to Run DMC. They just, for me, I grew up, they were my heroes coming up.
And back then, you guys had such an impact, you were seen as a threat. Police were turning up, raiding your shows. You had TV, radio stations censoring you.
Yeah.
You even had politicians speaking out, condemning you.
Yes.
But despite all of that, you managed to succeed.
Yeah, because truth can't be denied. It can be suppressed, but ultimately the truth will come through. And what we were rapping about were things that were true to our, our life growing up, neighborhoods we come from, the environment that we, witnessed. And we put it in music to understand it and give it, you know, a different form than what we had seen. And so in doing that, we brought in a reality that couldn't be denied.
And the FBI at the time,
Yeah.
you guys were a big concern to them.
Yeah.
They even sent a letter to your record label urging you to stop releasing that type of music.
Yeah, they did, trying to encourage them to take the record off the shelf or stop us from producing that kind of music. But, you know, to the record companies, you know, to their credit, they never did anything to try to stop us from doing the kind of music we felt we should be doing.
Back then, what we saw is essentially what we're seeing nowadays with cancel culture in a way, wasn't it? Because you were going against the grain. You were saying the things that were making people uncomfortable, that they wanted to shut you up. And I think we've seen a lot of that today, because I imagine you yourself may say things and share opinions, and people may say, how dare you, Ice Cube? Why would you say that?
You know, they've always said that to me, you know, throughout my whole career. I don't understand it. You know, people should want to hear a sincere answer or sincere opinion, and not some made up social construct.
I want to get your opinion then, Ice Cube, on an article that was published a few years ago, and it was in relation to Meghan Markle when it was announced that she was dating Prince Harry. Mm-hmm. One newspaper described the Duchess of Sussex as almost straight out of Compton. And there were a lot of people who were angry about that, because they believed that the connotations with Compton being a notorious city, and describing someone as such, there were sort of racial undertones.
Yeah.
What did you think about it at the time?
You know, people have their opinions. You know, that's fine. But it's some great people that come out of Compton. You know, some of them are better than the people that come out of Beverly Hills. So just because somebody say you come straight out of Compton and it has a tone of, you know, you come out the hood, or you come out the ghetto, or you come out, it's great people that come out of those places. So, you know, maybe they were trying to crack a joke, but at the end of the day, I think the joke is on them. Can't let what other people say or think about you affect you and how you think about yourself.
So do you think people had a right to be angry, given that Meghan is a black woman?
I understand it, you know, but I think it was a very off-colored joke. Let's look at the personality of the person who made the joke. You know, maybe they're, you know, straight out of somewhere else that's not so great. You know?
You've spent, I think, most of your life talking about racism, prejudice, racial inequality, and we've also seen Meghan Markle do the same thing, and I'm sure you'd have seen the Netflix documentaries, you'd have seen the newspaper articles about her and Prince Harry talking about their experience in the royal family and why they've left. How do you feel about the whole controversy around them and the fact that they tend to divide opinions quite a lot?
I think everybody has a right to pursue happiness in any way, shape, or form they believe. So, you know, I can't really make a comment on their experiences, why they did what they did, or why they do what they do. But I think, you know, when you're in the house, you can make more changes to the house than when you're outside of the house. So, you know, that's kind of my opinion, you know. If they would stuck it out, they might have been able to make some changes.
There are members in the royal family. For example, the Duchess of Kent. She's a senior member who's 90 years old, and she has said that you are one of her favorite rappers of all time.
That's great. I'm a good rapper. You know, it's like she got great taste, obviously, especially in rap music. And, you know, it's a great thing. Maybe she'll come to the game.
You have starred in so many movies, and just to name a few, you've got Anaconda, you've got Barbershop, you've got Friday, and so many others. What would you say was your standout movie to make in your career so far?
I think it would have to be Boys in the Hood, because Boys in the Hood was kind of like a movie that really tried to explain how me and people in my neighborhood grew up. And I don't think the world had ever seen that version of LA from a guy like John Singleton, who's grew up right there in it. So I think it's very important to show the world, you know, how we grew up. And Boys in the Hood was, you know, the first time we were able to do that, where I was like, yeah, this is a great representation of what we're going through South Central Los Angeles. And we showed it at the Cannes Film Festival in France with subtitles. You know, before the movie came out, we were at the festival and the movie got a standing ovation. And then I knew that the message had got across.
Would you like to see a remake of Boys in the Hood?
It depends, you know, it depends on who do it, how it's done. I think you could do a newer version of Boys in the Hood, because I think the circumstances of growing up in the same areas are a little different. A lot are the same, but they're a little different. So I wouldn't mind seeing those little nuances put on film.
Growing up, violence was something that impacted you at a very young age, and when you were just 12 years old, your sister was murdered by her husband.
I wish, you know, my sister's husband, you know, talked to somebody, didn't do what he did, you know, but you know, that's the ugliest form of domestic violence is, you know, when somebody actually dies. So, you know, you gotta get help before it gets to that point.
On average, 2 women a week are killed by their partners in England and Wales. There's a lot of campaigning at the moment for better support from the government and police officers to ensure that victims are listened to and that lives aren't lost.
Mm-hmm.
Do you back those calls for, you know, sort of stronger support for women and girls in particular who are victims of these crimes?
Of course, you know, I think it's, you know, it's terrible when, you know, violence happens within the family. You know, the family unit is supposed to be a safe space. And when you have violence between family members, it rips, you know, it's the polar opposite of what a family is supposed to be. So anytime there's efforts to stop it, curb it, prevent it, you know, I'm with that. I think, you know, there's always better ways to handle situations than violence. You know, talking it out is, to me, the best way to handle things. When it gets physical, you know, I think everybody loses. Nobody wins when it gets physical.
Ice Cube, thank you.
Thanks for having me, man.